Losing money hurts in a way that's hard to explain to someone who hasn't been through it. It's not just the number in your account. It's the sleep you lose, the decisions you replay at 3 a.m., the shame that makes you not want to tell anyone. If you've taken a financial hit, a bad investment, a business that didn't make it, a job loss, a scam, a debt that spiraled, this is for you. I won't pretend there's a magic trick that makes the loss disappear. There isn't. But there is a way through it. And there are real things you can start doing today. Let's walk through them. First, let's talk about the part nobody wants to deal with, the emotions. When you lose money, your brain treats it a lot like grief. There's denial. Maybe it'll bounce back. There's anger. At yourself, at the market, at whoever advised you. There's bargaining, there's depression, and eventually, if you let it, there's acceptance. Here's what matters. The feelings are normal. They're not the enemy. Research on loss aversion shows the pain of losing money is about twice as intense as the pleasure of gaining the same amount. So if this feels disproportionately awful, that's not weakness. That's simply how human brains are wired. But here's the trap. There's a difference between feeling the loss and living in it. Feeling it means letting yourself be upset, talking to someone, giving yourself a few days. Living in it means months of self-punishment that keep you stuck and keep you from taking action. So give yourself a window. Be sad. Be angry. Then set a deadline. Even something as simple as, I'm allowed to feel terrible until Sunday. And then I start moving forward. It sounds artificial, but having that boundary genuinely helps. And one more thing, stop the bleeding before you do anything else. Whatever caused this loss, if it's still active, still draining money, pause it. Don't make another move to win it back yet. We'll get to recovery. Right now, the only priority is to stabilize. Once the initial shock settles, you need to do something uncomfortable. Look directly at the numbers. A lot of people avoid this. They don't open the statements. They don't add it up, because as long as it stays fuzzy, it feels less real. But here's the truth. Uncertainty is scarier than reality. The monster in the dark is always worse than the monster with the lights on. So sit down and build a clear picture. Just 3 things. 1. What do you actually have left? Cash, savings, assets, income, the real number, not the one you're afraid of. 2. What do you owe? All of it. Every debt, every obligation, anything with a deadline. 3. What's your monthly burn? What's going out versus what's coming in right now? When you have these 3 numbers, something shifts. The situation changes from a vague cloud of dread into a problem you can actually solve. And problems can be solved. Dread can't. You may find it's worse than you hoped. You may also find it's nowhere near as catastrophic as your panicked brain was telling you at 3 a.m. Either way, you now know the truth, and the truth is the foundation for every good decision you make from here. And if the numbers are genuinely overwhelming, if you're staring at debt you can't see a way out of, this is the moment to talk to someone. A nonprofit credit counselor, a financial professional, not someone selling you a product, someone whose job is to help you map a path forward. There's no shame in that. The people who recover fastest are almost always the ones who ask for help early. Now let's deal with the voice in your head, the one saying, "How could you be so stupid?" Here's the reframe that changes everything. There's a difference between a lesson and a verdict. Shame says, "I am a failure." A lesson says this specific decision didn't work, and here's why. The first one is paralyzing and useless. The second one is the single most valuable thing you can pull out of this entire experience. So do a calm post-mortem, not a self-attack, an investigation. Ask yourself 4 questions. What did I actually not know that I needed to know? Did I ignore a warning sign? Was there even a warning sign there to ignore? Was this bad luck, a bad decision, or both? Because they are different, and most losses are a mix of the two. And what would I do differently, with everything I know now? Write the answers down. This matters, because the loss was incredibly expensive. You've already paid for it. The lesson is the one thing you get to keep. Don't waste it by being too ashamed to look at it clearly. And here's something worth sitting with. Almost every successful investor, every entrepreneur, every financially secure person you can name has a story like this one. Not as a cliché, as a literal pattern. The loss isn't what separates the people who make it from the people who don't. What separates them is what they do in the next 12 months. Okay, you've stabilized. You've faced the numbers, you've pulled the lesson out. Now we rebuild, and the order here really matters. The instinct after a big loss is to swing for the fences, to find some aggressive play that recovers everything fast. Resist that with everything you've got. That instinct is exactly how a bad loss becomes a catastrophic one. People chasing losses take bigger and bigger risks, and that's precisely when the second disaster hits. So rebuilding is boring. On purpose. Here's the order. First, a small cash buffer, even a modest emergency fund. It does something psychological. It tells your nervous system, you are not on the edge of the cliff anymore. And that calm is what lets you make good decisions again. Second, stable income. Because recovery is mostly an income problem, not an investment problem. If you can raise what's coming in, more hours, a raise, that does far more and far more safely than any risky bet to make it back. Third, reduce the leaks. Go back to that burn rate you calculated and trim what you can, temporarily, not forever, just while you rebuild the foundation. And only then, once you have a buffer, stable income, and spending under control, only then do you start thinking about growth again. Slowly, with money you can afford to commit, using the lesson you paid so dearly for. This isn't the exciting answer, but the boring path is the one that actually works. The exciting path? That's usually how people got here in the first place. Before we wrap up, let's make sure this is harder to repeat. A few principles that protect almost anyone. Never risk what you can't afford to lose. It's old advice because it's true. Money you need to live on should never sit in something that can vanish. Diversify. Don't let one decision, one asset, one bet have the power to take you down. Be deeply skeptical of anything promising fast, guaranteed high returns. That combination is the signature of nearly every scam and nearly every blow-up. And if someone is pressuring you, that pressure itself is the red flag. Build the habit of a pause. Before any significant financial decision, give yourself a fixed waiting period, even 48 hours. Most bad decisions need urgency to survive. Take the urgency away, and a lot of them fall apart on their own. And keep that emergency fund growing. It's not glamorous, but it's the thing that turns a future shock from a disaster into nothing more than an inconvenience. Here's what I want you to take from this. A financial loss is real, with real consequences. I won't minimize it. But it is not a final judgment on your worth, your intelligence, or your future. It's a chapter. Painful, expensive, deeply unpleasant, but a chapter, not the ending. The money you can rebuild, the lesson you get to keep, and the version of you that comes out the other side, calmer about risk, clearer about what matters, harder to knock down, is more capable than the one who walked in. So be kind to yourself this week. Then face the numbers, pull out the lesson, and start the slow, boring, reliable work of rebuilding. That's what we do here at Finance Physio, help you recover, rebuild, and come back stronger. So subscribe, and if this helped, share it with someone who needs it. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one.